We're learning more about the waste and corruption that's been taking place at USAID. It's been revealed left-wing news outlet Politico has been raking in millions of dollars from the agency that's supposed to be focused on providing foreign aid.
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOJ team is working on canceling those payments now.
Donald Trump has slammed this today, insisting that this is possibly one of the biggest scandals in history, where essentially USAID has been using taxpayer dollars to fund fake news. As you'd remember, Politico was one of the first outlets to claim that the Hunter Biden laptop story, broken by the New York Post, was Russian disinformation. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social today, "Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats." The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. USAID has an annual budget of $47 billion. And although its mission is a good one to fight starvation, end epidemics and fund education, it's been revealed that in addition to spending money on propping up Politico subscriptions, millions has been spent on DEI projects in Serbia, in Ireland. Cash has been splashed on funding sex changes in Guatemala and funding tourism in Egypt, and that is just to name a few. Up until recently, USAID had 10,000 staff members around the world, but Trump's administration is reportedly planning on keeping less than 300. Podcaster Joe Rogan says that this is what happens when we get a business approach in the White House.
You're seeing this, not just waste. You could call it waste, but it's deeper. It's deeper than waste. It's corruption. And you're seeing that corruption get weeded out. I am hoping that this is successful and that it yields a benefit to the American people, to the working class people, to everybody, where they recognize, like, hey, we can't just be spending all our tax money on nonsense.
Right.
And it all should be done with a real clear understanding of getting results.
Right.
Columnist at The Australian Adam Crichton told Power Hour the revelations that money from USAID was going to a left-wing news outlet is embarrassing.
Yeah, look, I was shocked too. It's just so embarrassing. I mean, it really is. I mean, the mainstream media, let's be frank, large swathes of it have been very embarrassed by pushing things that have turned out to be wrong, whether it's the laptop, whether it's, various aspects of COVID. And now it comes out that the Democratic arm of the US state, if you like, this agency called USAID, which has been propping up various institutions all around the world that are very closely aligned to the Democratic Party. They were also giving money to this media giant, which is owned, it's called Politico in the US, but it's owned by Axel Springer, which is a big German publisher. And Politico also happens to be fairly rabidly anti-Trump. So it's a very, very bad look. And I think it'll have ramifications, widespread ramifications, this.
I think so indeed. Now, podcaster Joe Rogan has blasted Kamala Harris's team for essentially lying about why Kamala Harris never went on the Joe Rogan podcast. They came up with plenty of excuses, like the date clashed with when Donald Trump was recording his. But Joe Rogan has called them out for their BS. Here he is.
No one ever committed to doing it. This is really important because they keep pretending that I lied or I did this or I did that. They never committed to doing it. Well, we went through, I've got a whole, we have all the receipts, by the way.
Of course.
I have a whole list of conversations that took place. They never said she was going to do it. So this whole idea that we her over and then we over for Trump, incorrect, just not true.
Adam, I don't think it's a smart move to lie about anyone or anything, but especially when it involves someone like Joe Rogan, who has such an enormous reach.
Yeah, look, that's certainly true, but it's kind of no surprise to me that she didn't want to go on that show because she couldn't have handled it. I think she wanted to lead him on and to keep her name in the media and and to have people wonder about the prospect of her being on the podcast. But of course, she couldn't do it. I mean, it's a long form interview, and we all know she did very few of those. Indeed, her strategy for the first couple of months from when she was leader was not to do any media at all. And then when she started doing more media, her favourability ratings fell fairly rapidly. So look, I mean, I think if she had have done it, I think it would have been even worse, the result of the election. So, for Democrats, I mean. So yeah, but look, it is embarrassing, all the lying and stuff. And, the curious thing, I don't know why Joe Rogan didn't say this before the election, but anyway, it's, he said it now, and, I suppose it's not surprising.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I wonder if the offer is still on the table. I'm not sure if she's still up to a 3-hour interview with Joe Rogan. I'm not sure how many people would listen to it either. But what's your take on the future of the Democrats? It just feels like they're more irrelevant than ever.
Yeah, look, I think the party's been severely wounded. I mean, the reality is their political strategy for many presidential elections has been to appeal to all the minority groups, if you like, and of course women too, even though they're not a minority, but that they're kind of, bucketed as one. And, Trump had swings towards him amongst all these groups, every single one. And so I think, trying to curry favor with Black Americans or Hispanic Americans, I think this is over. And so there's an existential crisis for the Democrat Party, I think. And also some of the stuff they're saying now is still so unhinged and out of touch with American people. Like I just read today that some of them are going to try to impeach Trump. I mean, this playbook did not work. You tried this many times. You tried the lawfare, and, he won in a landslide. So they really need a new political playbook going forward. I think it's going to take at least a year to work out what that is.
They really do. I think that playbook actually helped Donald Trump, but they haven't learnt the lesson. Look, finally, Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi has been confirmed. Here she is during the confirmation hearing.
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question
I would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review hundreds of cases on the first day?
I'm not going to mislead this body, nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
you
another question.
You were censured by Congress, Senator, for comments just like this that are so reckless.
Pam Bondi is getting straight to work. She's already ordered the DOJ to pause all federal funding for sanctuary cities. So those cities that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities will potentially be cut off. Adam, what's your assessment of this?
Well, look, I think this was just always virtue signaling in the first place. I mean, we saw when the Republican governors in southern states, in Florida and in Texas, started to send to bus and fly thousands of illegal immigrants to Chicago and to New York and to various other so-called sanctuary cities, that they didn't want these people. And so it's just all nonsense. And so, I think what the US federal government's going to do makes sense. I mean, they shouldn't be funding virtue signaling. So, if states individually want to pay for this nonsense for these various centres and so forth, you let them. But I don't see why the federal government should be helping. And as for the new Attorney General, I mean, she performed extremely well in her hearings, which you just saw some of then. And I think she's going to do a good job, I think.
I think so too. Adam Crichton, great to chat to you again. Thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour.
Thanks, Gabrielle.